Hello, we are starting in 1 minute. Yeah, we are starting in 1 minute. You should be able to hear me from now. We are starting in 1 minute. 1 minute. Hello. Yep, testing. Yep, okay. Cool. Okay. Yep. We need to start our lecture. How is everyone going the first 2 weeks? All good? Have you started with iteration 0? Yeah. Is it all good? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so iteration 0 is designed to be pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So the purpose of iteration 0 is give you a chance to make mistakes. So you can always do something wrong, and then you can still get it right before iteration before iteration 1. And it's also a very good chance to set up expectations with your team, like start working on your team contract. And like team contract, I found it's a very useful tool. Like in later weeks of the term, when you notice something is going wrong, somebody is not contributing well, you can always go back to the team contract and say, well, this is what you said, right? So you had an expectation set up at the beginning of the project. So I found it always being very useful. Yeah, and how many of you have done this week's tutorial? Yeah, have you done the game, the collaboration game? Is it fun? Yeah, I think for most groups it's pretty fun. The only issue that I've found so far is the Microsoft whiteboard. So that tool is a little bit tricky, but we'll figure out that for future weeks. Otherwise, I visited a couple of tutorial classes this week, and I found most groups have been very engaging with the activity, so which is great. Cool. Yeah, everyone online okay so far? Yeah, can hear us all good? All good? Okay, so today's lecture, so let's have a quick look at our timetable of the lectures. So now we are in week 2, the second lecture in week 2. So this lecture is relatively, it's not too hard. Like I found Git has been a hurdle for many groups in the past few terms. And then things got a little bit like slower down, like not too hard for a couple of lectures. And then after we do testing, like things becoming a little bit difficult again. But you can treat week 2 as a little bit of a break. So it's not too hard in the lecture today. So which is good. Let's get on to the topic. So JavaScript is very powerful in many sense. So we have seen like how JavaScript is dynamic with its types, with its functions, with the object and arrays. And another thing that is very powerful about JavaScript is there's a large community of developers who are using JavaScript. And they are very keen on developing open source resources for you to use. So very often you find yourself, well, I want to do something. Like for example, I want to check whether a date is valid. So I say like 2024 December, and the date is 110. So is that a valid date? So how can you know whether it's a valid date? So of course you can write your own script. You can write your own code to to check whether the date is valid. But you may also notice that someone else on the internet have already done this. So do you need to start writing your code from scratch again? Well, you can as a practice. But in many cases, you can just use other people's code, like has been tested well, has been working well in the industry, so you can use them directly. So today's lecture, we'll learn how we can use other people's packages or code for our purposes. Okay, so let's go back to the example that I just gave, like how we can check whether a date is valid. So maybe before I write my own script, I'll just look online and search for other people's script. And this is what I found on the internet. Okay, I don't have a good understanding of what is it, but this is just something like people post on the internet and the other comments are saying, oh, this is fantastic, it works really well, it solved my problem. So before I try to understand how it works, I just copy it and pass the code and just try it first. So what about, so let's go back to our project that we wrote together in week 1's lecture, which is the generic project. Oops, sorry, this is the wrong window. Yeah, so this is our generic project. So what I'm going to do first, so I'm now back on this generic project. I'm starting to write code. What should I do first? Can anyone give me a hint? Should I just create a new file and copy and paste the code, and then before I do that, is there anything that I need to do? Yeah. Yes, git pull. So this is very important. Like before you start writing something new on your project, remember to git pull, because most of you are working on a group project, right? So maybe your team members have already pushed a new updates to your project. So to avoid conflicts as much as possible, remember that you need to git pull first before writing anything new. Okay, so let me go to our generic project. So this is our generic project. Is that big enough? Can you see clearly from the back? Okay, cool. So I need to git pull first our generic project. Yep, cool. I want to double check if I'm on the am I on the right project? Yeah, okay. So I'm now on the branch called programs branch, and I git pull. So what did we do last week about this programs branch? Do you remember? What did we do on this programs branch? We asked, so we tried with git merge. So we created this branch as an example. I think we didn't git push this programs branch before we finished our last lecture, but that is okay. So I want to remove this .ds store, which is sometimes git status. So sometimes you see some magic like dot a name of file appears in your project, but it's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to git checkout to the main branch. Switch to branch main. Yep, I'm now on this main branch. Let me pull from the main first. Yep, so now pulling is successful, and then I want to create a new branch. So can anyone tell me how I can create a new branch for this new feature about checking whether data is valid? Because this is a new feature, right? Remember that we want to create a new branch for every new feature. Yep.
Git branch and then the name.
Git branch and the name. Let's git branch. Maybe just date branch. Is that correct? Let's. Yeah.
I believe you meant use git checkout.
Yes, that's correct. So, so git branch is useful like when we want to check which branch we have now. But if we want to create a new branch, we need to use git checkout and then -b, and then that is the branch name. So this is the way that we create a new branch. So it is okay, we are still learning. So now we have created this branch called date branch. So let's check out to this branch. Can anyone tell me how can I check out to this new branch called date branch? Hints? Anyone else? Yeah. Git checkout and the date branch. Yeah, so you can see now we have switched to this date branch, which is perfectly, and now we can start making changes on this new branch, on this date feature. So now we can add a new file. Let's call it date.js. Okay, so now we can go back and copy and paste the script that we found online. Just copy it and pass it here. Okay, so now I want to try to run it and see whether it works. Can anyone remind me how I can run this program? Yeah, on the her side. Yeah. Okay, yeah, you go. Node. Name of the file. Oh wow, there's a syntax error saying that cannot use it, and saying something that we have no idea of, which is a module. What is it? Okay, so now there's a problem. So why we can't use it? Like it's shared by someone online. People are saying, well, this is perfect, but why it doesn't work for me? Right? So this is what we are going to introduce today. So there's a powerful resources online about people writing their scripts and share that we can use. However, to use these packages, we need to use something called npm. So what is that? So let's go back to our slide. Yeah, we got this error. So we need to use this npm. It's called Node Package Manager. So we need to set up this npm to be able to use those modules. Okay, so what are these modules? What is it? So these modules for JavaScript, or these packages for JavaScript, are shared on a platform called npmjs.com. So this is an open source platform that people sharing their resources, their scripts. And the example that we use here was the date functions, right? So what we can do is we can search here, date functions. And we search, we found the exact one, right? So this is where they share their packages. So they write a script, they write some functions, and they share these resources online. So to be able to use all of these resources, we need to install the packages. Okay, so the way that we can use all of this is by using npm init. So this is a it's not on the slide, but I'll show, it's here. So we need to do, the thing that we need to do first is called run npm init. That is set up of a project to be ready to use these resources. So it's like an initial step that we need to set up for our project. So then we can start to use all of these resources. So now we can go back to our generic project and do something called npm init. So all you need to do is within this project, tap npm init. And then they will start to ask us some questions about this project. So so this is where I tap in npm init, and there are some hints, some comments saying this will walk you through creating a package.json file. So we'll explain what is it later. And now they will ask you to what's your name of your project, your packages. So if they will give you some hints, some recommendations of each question. So in the bracket, they put generic project. So this is their recommendation, or just something that you can use directly. So you can just hit on return, And then it asks you like, what is the version of your project? So this is our initial version, so we can just use 1.0.0. And you can also put a description here for your project. So maybe we'll put here, this is a collaborative project by COMP1531 24 terms rate students in the lectures. So I put a description for my project, and they will ask you for an entry point, so maybe index.js or main.js, but here we can just put arrays.js. And text command, we don't need that now, and they will ask you to double check your Git repository. So where is this project shared on Git? And this is the link. And you can also put some keywords, but I'll just put it blank now. And author is, you can also keep it blank, but I'll just put 24 terms rate students. And license is okay. So they put everything here, and they ask you, is it okay? You can just put yes. So you can always go back and change any of this information. So it doesn't mean that you set up your project like this and it will always be like this. So you can always go back and change. So after we have done this npm init, you will notice that your project, so there will be a new file created for you in your project, which is this package.json file. And in this package.json file is just what we just put in, like following all the questions, following their hints, so the information about the project. So this will be created for you in a package.json file. And you can see here the name is, the version, the description, the scripts, repository, also a license. So after you run this, all of these will be created for you. Is that enough? Shall we now run the date.js function? It's still not done yet. So next step you need to do to use a specific package in the npm library, you need to install that function or install that packages. The way that you can install it, like you can find them on this npm set. So they will give you a hint like how to install their packages. And for most of them, for almost all of them, is npm install and then the name of it. So you can use I for short, or you can use install in full. So both works. So you can just copy it and then go back to your project and then run npm install date function. And when you hit return, you notice that will start to install this package for your project. Yeah, so this is the process, like how we can use other people's packages in the open source library. So there are a lot of resources for us that we can use. And now, after we have done that, you will see that there's a new folder created now called node-modules. So in this folder, there's a subfolder called date functions. And in this subfolder, there are a lot of files in that. And those are the resources that created for you in this library. And there are a lot of functions in that you can use directly. So you do not need to write the functions that people already done. That you can just use those functions. Okay. Yeah. Any questions so far? Yeah. Cool. Any question from the room? All good? The process is clear? Yeah, question.
You need to run this for every single project. So if you make a new project, you run it again?
Yes. So if you want to use other people's packages on npm library, you need to first npm init to set up the package.json file. And then you can npm install the packages that you want to use for your project. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so now we have init the project as like an npm project, and we also installed the data function using npm install. So now can we use the data functions? I assume the answer is yes, but again we'll see some error message again, but I will explain. Node date.js, and yeah, so unfortunately we got another error message. The main thing here is about here. So there are two types of modules for JavaScript, and the one that we use for this course is called the ES module. So we need to add something in our package.json file following their hints. So you do not need to worry too much about like setting up the project because we set it up for you, for your labs, for your project, but I'm just demonstrating here so you know where these are coming from, so you know why it looks like this in your major project or in your lab. So we need to add this in the package.json file. So let's go to this package.json file, add this. Okay, just follow their hints, and now it should work. But we already set up things for you in your project, as I mentioned, so you do not need to worry about it. So now you can see, well, when we run the date.js function, it works now. It returns the true. Okay, so now it works. So let's have a recap of the process. We need to npm init, and then we need to npm install the package that we want, and then it should work. Like, you do not need to worry about this one because we set up for you. Okay, yeah. So the process makes sense. So now let's go back to take more details into what has happened. Okay, so first of all, let's have another look at this npm library. So you can just see as a library of open source packages that you can use, and this is one of the examples. So on this page, you can see there are a lot of information about it. So for example, you can see how to install these packages. They also share their code repository. So this is their code repository, like where all of their code hosted. And they also have a home page for this library, for this package. So you can also have a look at their homepage for more information about like how it works, how to use it, and also they also provide a documentation for this package. Oh, it didn't work. Yeah, so you can also upload your own packages to this npm library. So it's totally open source for everyone. So for example, this one, other things that you can find on this page for the functions also include some examples about how to use their functions in this package. So you can see, well, this is an example of using like formatting. So this is this is an example of how to format a date, like in day of the week, the month, the date, and then the year. So so in this package, not only can help you check whether that is valid, but they also have other functions that you can use. Yeah, so you can also search for some other packages, for example, weather, search. So these are all packages about weather. So you can see that there's a lot of resources on this npm library, a lot of resources. So maybe you can also check some random things about maybe dog. Okay, so a lot of interesting packages, resources for you about dog names. Yeah, and you can also search maybe color, and then color name, support color, wrap colors. So there are a lot of resources that you can use. So you can see like JavaScript is very powerful, right? Okay, so this is about this npmjs.com, so this website, this library. So now let's have a look at the node modules again. So for example, now we have only installed one package, which is this date functions package. And in this, these are some functions that you can use, for example, add. They also have a lot of like format, like can format dates. So these are all functions in these packages, in this package. Yeah, so you may also notice while we explain what is this package.json file, but there's also another one that is new to us, which is package-log.json file. So what is that? So when you compare this -log.json file and this package.json file, you'll notice that in this log.json file, there's a lot more information, a lot of details in this file. So it includes where you have installed this date function. So the exact URL of that function, of that package, and also include the version information. Because for many packages, they will upload multiple versions. So they may also start with version 1, and then they have version 2, 3, and 4. So there may be some differences. So for other people to be able to use your date.js file, they should be installed the same version or similar version of what you used. So in this package.log.json file, there's like more details. Make sure that everyone's on the same page installing the same version of the packages. Yep. Any question? There's an interesting question from Adam online asking, do you need to sub them or give credit? And if so, how do you do it? We do not need to stop them. So if we are using other people's packages or libraries, these are all added here in the JSON file. So for example, you can see that we are using date functions. So in this package.json file, it will automatically, so after you run npm install date function, this will be added automatically in this JSON file. So it says dependencies, like this so our project, this generic project, depends on this date functions package. So this is the way that we said, like we are using them. And there are also some interesting ones that, let me see if I can find one. So some packages that you can donate money to the author. So if you found a project is really useful, you can donate money. So they will provide a link at the bottom of their project and can donate some money for the authors of the project. So this one doesn't. So sometimes you will see there's a donation link. Yes and no. So another information that you may need to use on this npm library is this weekly downloads. This is because there are too many packages in this library. Sometimes you may not know like which one would be better for me, like which one is more like I can trust because it's open source, there are so many choices. So one information that I sometimes look is this weekly downloads. So if like a package like this that has so many weekly downloads, so maybe this is someone that is reliable. But you can also see that there are some packages with 0 download weekly. So maybe that's pretty new, or maybe it's not very helpful. It's not very good resource. So this is one information that I do look into. Cool. Great. Yeah, so this is how we can use other people's package. We can also play around with installing other packages. What about we try this? Yeah, so this is a easy to implement one that we can quickly demonstrate. It's this color name package. So I'll just do the process again, and you can follow so you know how it works. So now I want another package installed for my generic project. So which is this color-name package. I follow their instruction on how to install it. I go back to my project, npm I install color. So installing, okay, installing is done. And now when I go back to my project, you will see that under dependencies, there's one more. So other than this date function, there's one more dependency for my project after I npm install this package, which is this color name. And in this package-log.json file, you'll notice that there's another package added in, it's here. Another package added here, which is this color name with this version information and other information. And under this node-module, there's also a subfolder created for you, which is the color-name. Okay, so this all happens after we run npm install color name. And then now we can create we can use it. So the way we use it, we can just follow the example just to try it, which is I'm creating a new file called color.js, copy and paste the file to be able to make sure that you can see something. So I'll console log the result, which is console log colors.write. So I just follow their instruction or their example on how to use it. And now I can go back to the terminal and node color.js. And you can see this is the output, which is 255, 0, and 0. You can also change it to green, right? So this is the result. So you can see that it's very powerful, right? With JavaScript, with NPM library, we can use other people's script. So it saves us a lot of time, and it's also, and most of the time, it's also more reliable because it's well tested. Yep. So this is how the packages work. Okay. So now the problem is I have done my part on my laptop. However, this progress or these updates are not synced to GitLab yet, right? So what we want to do is make sure that everyone on my project, on my team, is on the same page. So I need to make sure that I push my updates to the remote repo on GitLab. So how can we do that? So we can do similarly as before. We git add all these new files, and then we git commit with a commit message saying we made this npm package, we install the color name, we install the date functions, and then we can git push. However, there's a problem here. What is the problem here?
We're going to be like the first most contributed person.
We're going to the middle. Okay, any other, yeah, that's a concern. Yeah, any other concern here?
They don't have the package installed?
They don't have the packages installed? Mm-hmm. Yep. Good idea. Yep, that's a very good thought. Any other concern?
Just pray everything works and
Yeah, that's all interesting idea, interesting thoughts. But my concern here is I installed 2 packages, and potentially I'm going to install a lot of packages for my project. And then I will have a huge node modules folder with a lot of files in that, right? And it will take a long time, like pushing, pulling, and also use a lot of space on the cloud, on the like GitLab remote repo, right? But this can all just be installed using npm install. Like everyone on my team can also install using npm install, and these packages are available online for everyone, right? So they are not unique code, in our project. Is that right? Yeah. So is it possible that we only git push or git pull the code for our project uniquely, and other members on my team, they can also do npm install the packages? Just make sure it's the same version. Okay, so the way that we can do this is by adding a file in our project called git ignore. Remember that you need to have a dot before. So it's dot and then git ignore. Return. And then what we need to do is we want to put the folders that we want to ignore when we git push. So we do not want to push the node-modules folder. We only want to push all other files that is unique for our project. Right. So that folder is node-module. Yeah, so this is the folder that we want to ignore. Yeah, question?
What if we just git add and git commit those files?
That's a very good question. So what about we just git add the files that we want to push? Yes, we can do that. But there's a way that we can automatically ignore the node-modules file, which is adding this .ignore. And this is also how, so let me show you why. Yeah, so let me show you why this is powerful. So after I have added this git ignore file, then when I use git status, oh, I put in the wrong folder. I shouldn't put this git ignore in the node folder, node modules folder. It should just be here. And then when we use git ignore, you will see that the modules folder is not tracked anymore when we use git status. Otherwise, there should be another right line here for node-modules because that folder is not tracked here. We never added that, we never committed that, we never pushed that, right? But after we have added this git ignore file and we put this node modules folder in this file, it will be ignored with git. So git will ignore anything in this node-modules folder. So it will not annoy you. So anytime when you run git status, you will see, well, this folder is not tracked yet. Does that make sense? Yeah, question?
Sorry, where do you put that file?
In your generic project folder. So that is parallel with all these files. So I just made a mistake that put this git ignore file in this node-modules folder, which was a mistake. It should be outside of this node-modules folder.
So is this for the project?
Yes, we use this for the project.
Would it be like just in that source folder?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Would it be the source folder?
Yes, the source. So, yeah, that's a very good question. So, where should we put this git ignore file? Should it be in a source folder or where? So, I'll just put it in the most, how should I say that? The most upper level in the project, not in any folder. Yeah, but if you want to ignore any specific folder, you can put, like, for example, if you only want to ignore this date function folder, you can put this here, date, then function. So anything in this date function will be ignored. But here we want to ignore anything in this modules folder. So this is just a directory. So you put a directory in this git ignore file. So anything at this directory will be ignored by git. Make sense? Yep. Yeah, so now there's another quite annoying file in my project, which is this one. So I'll also put that here. So I really want to ignore that. Okay, so git status, you can see, so now these are all the files that is not pushed, not commit, not added yet. So now what I can do is git add and dot. Then all of these will be added together. Because all of these are about one feature, right? So we can commit them together. So these are all about my npm package, right? So my one update. So git status again. So you can see that we can now commit them. So git commit -m setup npm, and then we can git push. Yeah, so this is a recap again about git. Can anyone remind me, can I just use git push here to push my updates so far?
What's the current branch again?
We are now on a branch called date branch.
Git push origin paper.
Yeah, that's right. So what I normally do is I just use git push first and then follow the hints that they just give us. So then I do not need to memorize all of the set upstream or origin. So I just copy it and pass it here. So what was the reason that git push didn't work? Yeah.
It wasn't aware of the upstream branch.
Yeah, because it didn't aware where's the upstream branch that we need to push to, because it's not it didn't exist on the GitLab remote repo yet, because it is a branch that we only created locally on my laptop. Right. Okay. Let me check online again. Yep. Cool. Okay, cool. Any questions so far? Yeah, question.
So instead of adding it to the Git file,
Uh-huh.
if we put the node modules file in like an including a folder, like as in, like for example, I have like a COMP1531 folder, and inside the COMP1531 folder, I have like a project folder. If I put the node modules in the 1531 folder instead of the project folder, would that still work?
I'm not sure if I get your question, but did you mean that can we add subfolders?
You know, like if the project folder itself is a subfolder of a different folder, like would the module still work if we had the node modules in the outer folder?
Oh, did you mean what? So after we have done this git ignore, and now we install npm install other packages, will that still work? Not really. Yeah. Yeah.
I think he's asking if you store the modules in a parent folder, where you have the project inside the parent folder.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you meant? Yeah.
I'm not sure if I really understand what you are asking. I'm sorry, but as long as this is a folder or directory within this project, it will work. Yeah.
I think they need to ask you about instead of using the git ignore, you can simply store the node modules in a different directory outside of the git project.
Oh, you mean rather than using git ignore, putting this node-modules in another directory that is outside of this project, will that still work? We normally don't do that. Yeah. Yeah, because this is a folder that automatically generated when we're using npm install. And it should be in this project, like when we install other packages, it knows where they need to install these packages to. Right? So we need to follow this kind of conventions. Yep. Cool. Okay, so let's go back to our slides. Here we have talked about these, talked about those. Yeah, also mentioned these. Mentioned. Yep. Cool. Okay, so before we move on, now we have git pushed this project to, git pushed these changes to the remote repo. So now what happens if another team member on my project, and so what they are going to do is they are going to use git pull, right? So when they git pull, they won't pull this node-modules to their local repo because this was not pushed to the remote repo. So how can they also use the functions in this folder? So they don't have this folder, right? So the way that they need to do is after they git pull, they use npm install, followed by nothing. And this command will look at the package.json file and also the package.log.json file to know what are the packages that needs to be installed to make sure this project works. Right? So sometimes when you work in a group, you do the very good practice. Before you add something, before you change something, you use the git pull. Well, you may think, well, I'm up to date with all the changes on the remote repo. Why when I run when I run node date.js function, just such kind of error message and saying a module is missing? That is because your team members installed a new package that you haven't installed locally. So all you need to do is after you git pull, run npm install to make sure that you are also up to date with all the packages that should be installed for this project. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so we also got this question from the forum in previous term, like why it didn't work after I git pull, because you haven't npm installed yet. So after you git pull, npm install to make sure that you have all the packages installed. Okay, another thing that is pretty powerful with the package.json file. So we'll look at JSON file in details in a future lecture, but now we just see how it works, but we'll explain more in the future. Another interesting thing is about these scripts. So in the package.json file, there's a script that automatically created for you. So how does it work? So before I change anything, I just play with it, and when I run npm run test, okay, it will be where is it? Yeah, so after I use npm run test, I'll have error, no test specified, so exactly same with what is here, and then exit the program. So this is a script that we can define ourselves for this specific project. So for example, git pull, git push, so these are scripts that defined by git. npm init, npm install, these are scripts defined by npm. But for this project, for this specific generic project, we can define our own script by using the scripts here. So now the script that we use is npm run test, but I can add, I can change it. So for example, I can change it to my test and change the error message into my error. I can even change the command here as node color.js. So I can personalize my script for my project. So the way it works is now we can run npm and then it should be my test because the script name is changed from test to my test, right? And then when you hit return, it will be my error, no test specified. And then this is the result from node color.js. It's like magic, right? Very powerful. You can define your own script. You can also change it to ha ha ha. My error, ha ha ha. I don't know, I don't tell you what is the error. And then you can run npm run my test. It will be then my error, ha 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 ha. And then the result from node color.js. Right? This is powerful when in a future lecture when we introduce test. So how to run tests for HTTP servers, for your JavaScript script. This part will become powerful in a future lecture. But here we just show you that you can define your own script using package.json file for your specific project. Right? Okay. Cool. Okay, let's go back to the slides. Yeah, customize the scripts. Yeah, so this is another script that we can add. So we can add more than one script to package.json file. So other than the test or my test, you can also add others. So now, for example, we add this build script. Oh, sorry, it should be that. And then build script. And now you can run npm run and then build. Will be high build. Okay, so you can add more than one personalized scripts. Cool. All right, so that is all for this lecture. Let's take a break for 5 minutes and come back at 12 p.m. Hello, we are back. This is the general project. Okay, welcome back. I turned off the light here, so I hope it's better now. Yeah, so if you have any feedback, any suggestions during or after the lecture, feel free to let me know. So let us know if you have any feedback about the lectures, about the projects, about the labs, about like forum, anything. Just let us know by using this feedback form. So we'll address all of your feedback. Sorry, a lecture started again. Yeah, so this feedback form is anonymous. We do not track your identity, so you can be as open as you can. But we strongly encourage you to put your name or ZID actually in the form, because it's easier for us to follow up, but it is optional anyway. So if you put your name or ZID, if your suggestion or feedback, like if we want to know more about it, so we can follow up with you. But again, the identity information is optional. Cool. We had a question online about this package lecture by Bin Zivel. I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. So technically the .git ignore file is tracked, but anything inside the node module is not tracked directly or shared on GitLab. The answer is yes. So this file is tracked. So everyone on this project, after they git pull, so be shared. So everyone will have the same .git ignore file, but the node modules folder is not synced to GitLab remote repo. So the answer is yes. Okay, so this is everything about the package lecture. So now we are moving on to our next lecture, which is also pretty straightforward. So this lecture is about sharing files within one project. So in the previous lecture, we learned how we can use other people's code. Right? So this lecture, we'll learn how we can use the functions that are defined in other files. Right. So in our previous examples, so this is normally how, like we showed, we use our functions. So this is a function called manyString. So what it does is repeat the string for repeat times. So for example, when we console log manyStrings 5 hello, it will repeat hello for 5 times. Right. So this is what we have been used, what we have seen in the previous lectures, like how we can use functions. However, it is impossible, like when we have a pretty large project, we have all the functions and every single line of code in one file. Right? So it's very common, like we have multiple files. So one may have a lot of functions, and like we can call them helper function, and we use the functions in another file. So how can we do that? So this is what we are going to learn in this lecture. Okay, so before we do that, just run this file so you know what it is doing. Node split -before.js. Okay, so it will repeat hello for 5 times. So this is what it does. So now we want to split it. So we want to have one file having the function. However, call this function in another file. So this is what we want. So we want to have a file that only call this function, but not defining the function in this file. So we can just directly use console log and then string many and 5 hello. However, we define this function from another file, and we just import this function in the current file. Okay, so this is how we do that. We still have the same function here. However, we export the function using export default manyString. Remember that we need to have this export line. So we need to have this line so that other file, so functions in other file can call this magnet string function. If we don't have that, so we won't be able to use this function in another file. So after we have export this magnet string, we can then import magnet string from this file and then use magnet string now. So this is how it works. So let's try it. Split after and then main.js. So it works the same. So why do we want to do that? One of the key reasons is we want to keep the main logic together. So we want to, maybe for example, this is the main file of my project. So I want to have all the main logic, so the key logic of my project here. So I don't want to have functions here and there to be too interactive. So I want to keep all of my functions about one thing in another file. And then we just call this function in the main logic. So it's more clear, it's easier to rate, it's also easier to maintain. So this is why we want to do that. Okay, in this example, there's only one function, right? So what if we have a file that have a lot of functions, like more than one? Can we have something like, for example, we have another function called magnetstring-1, and then we export both magnetstring and then magnetstring-1. Can we do that? Unfortunately, we can't. So by using export default, it means that we are only exporting one specific function. If we want to export more than one function, we need to use something differently, which is remove this default and then like this. So in this way, we can export multiple functions in one single file. So this is two ways like we export functions. One is using export default for one single function export, or use this named export for multiple function export. So if you have, like, for example, magnetstring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can list them here. So you can export as many functions as you wish. Okay. However, if we export multiple functions, the way that we import will also be different. So let me show you in the slide, so that'll be easier. Whoopsie. Where is it? Yeah, so this is a good one. So it puts things together, so everything's in one slide, so it's easier to rate. So on the left-hand side is the function file. We define the function, we export the one single function, and then we import this, the function here. And now we export multiple functions, and the way import becomes also different. So the, oopsie, what is happening with my screen? Yeah, so the main will become import, and then again bracket, and the name of the functions. So two functions from this file, and then you can call the two functions. You can use the two functions directly. So you import it, add brackets here. You import in magnetstring, and you can use magnetstring directly. So these functions that you can use directly in another file. Yeah. Super simple, right? Cool. So Ami is saying that it's like your second assignment in COMP1531. Functions were in separate files. So exactly true. Yeah, same here. That's right. Cool. So do we have any question here? Yes? No? I have a question. So my first question is, with this example, I'll just go back to the original. In this example, we export this many string, right? So when we import, it becomes string many. The name changed. Why can I still use it? Why there's no error message? Right? See that the function was defined as many string here. We also export this many string. But then when we import, it becomes string many. So this is the magic here. So when we use export default, because there's only one single function that is exported, right? When we import, we know which function it is, even though the name changed. Right? So you can change to whatever you want. You can say my name, right? And then you can just use my name here. It knows which function it is because you are only exporting one single function. Right? So this is powerful, like sometimes in a specific context, you may want to personalize the function's name. For example, here is called manyString, and in your specific case, like when you call this function in your example, maybe this is about manyString hello, right? So this is maybe it's more specific for the context here. It makes your code easier to read. So you can change it, and it still knows which function you are calling. So now can we do the same when we export multiple functions? So we export two functions here, manyString and @bracket. So now when we import them, can I still change it to, for example, string many? Can we do that? Can we do that? No, we can't. Because when we export more than one function, like when you import, you need to specify which function you want to call. Yeah, question?
Well, can you still export objects as with the default keyword?
Can you give an example?
So, well, could you, if you go back to the other,
Here? Here?
Yeah, that one. Could you use the default keyword for the export there?
I'm not sure if I understand what you mean, but we can treat all. So I'll come back to that. So avoid confusion. Yeah, I'll come back to that. Yeah, so we can't change the name if we export more than one functions here. Because when we import a function, when we call the function, they need to know which function to use. Right? So we can't change. However, one thing so if we really want to change the name, okay, so we can do something like this. We can change the name by using this ICE keyword. Right? Then you can change the name. So remember here, it was called manyString, right? And then here, you can change this manyString to string many or my name for a specific content. So this is how you can change name of the functions if you are exporting more than one functions. So they still know which function that you are referring to in the functions file. So it's still very clear here. Yep. Cool. So it is possible. Cool. So now I want to go back to the question. I'm not sure if I understand your question, but we can treat all the exported functions together as an object. So as an object that containing multiple functions that are exported. And then what we can do is we import all from this functions file. And then we can use the specific functions by using all dot the function name to referring to the specific function. But here again, you cannot change the name. because they need to know which function that you are referring to. So the one that I most recommended you to use is this one, the named export. So the reason is we can export multiple functions. So even though we only want to export one, I still recommend you do something like this. So using the bracket containing the function's name. The reason is it's more flexible. You can always add more functions later. Alright. If you only, for example, if you so if you use the other way, for example, you export default many string, and when you import, you change the name, and in the future you add another function, and you change it here, export multiple functions, and then in the other file where you change the name, you call the function, it will become confusing because you change the name in another file, right? And you are not sure which function that file is referring to because in the future you added more functions here. Is that clear? So I do recommend you all to start with the named export, even though you are only exporting one single function at the beginning, because it is more flexible, that you can always add more functions later. Yep. Cool. So let's now go back to the slide. Yeah, so this is exactly what we have seen in the example. So yeah, so the two types of export are called default export and named export. And the recommended one is the named export. Cool. So this slide just said that we recommend the named export. So it's more flexible and can always add more later. Yeah, so if I have a lot of functions that you want to export or import, you can put them in different lines to avoid having one single line containing a lot of functions. Yeah, question?
When you're importing using all, and then you go all dot, are they keys? So like you can loop them and then say if the key is equal to this function name, do this?
Yes.
So they come up as keys rather than... Do you
Yes, I believe it, but we never use it in that way because we don't. Why do we want to loop through all the functions that
so
define?
You're doing a for loop, and
Yeah.
then you're using two functions. Maybe one is like print even, and another is print odd. Just for example.
Yeah.
And then if it is even, you could go that function. So would you loop through as keys or?
Yeah, they are keys, but I don't recommend looping like that because remembering that the keys in object, there's no ordering, so there's no order. So although maybe you tried 100 times, and each time the first function comes first, the second function comes second, it doesn't mean that always, like if you try 1,000 times, it will still be the case. Yes, so still try to be specific, like which function that you are trying to use. Yep. Cool. Okay, so that's almost everything. But before we oh, it's such a quick lecture. There are also using functions. Like we can use functions in the npm package in the library. We can use functions that we designed in another file in our project. There are also one more type of functions that we can use, which is predefined function, or we call built-in libraries. So these are built-in libraries by Node.js or JavaScript. So you can find those built-in libraries here. So we provided you a link on the slide. So these are built-in libraries that you do not need to npm install. You also do not need to define the functions yourself in a file like with all the functions. So you can use those functions directly. However, you still need to import those functions to your project to be able to use that. But you do not need to npm install, or you also do not need to have those functions in a file in your project. So those are built-in modules that you can use directly. We will use some of these in this course. So for example, we will use the FS modules for our file system. So in the later stage of your project, we will have a file system. So a very simple database. So we will use the file system module called FS. We will also use, where is it? Yeah, I can't find that. Just one more that we will use. My eyes. Yeah, but they yeah, I can't find that. Yeah, but there's also one called Pass. Pass is also a pretty fun built-in module that we can use. So the way that we use that is just import pass from pass. So similarly as what we have seen that we use function defining out a file, we can just import them and then we can use them directly. So we can try one of these. So I'll just put them here as a new file. Oh, sorry, it's called lab.js. Copy and paste. And then the way we run it is the same. It's just lib.js. Oh, sorry, I forgot node. Node and then, yeah, so this is the where we are at the moment. So the directory, the path information of the current project. Let me check the questions online. Yep, I think that's all good so far. Yeah, do we have any question on so far in the room? Yeah, question.
This is similar to this question. If we want to import, say, objects, for example, in another file, we create an object student.zid, student.name, and we want to access that in another file. Can we import it?
No, we can't. So this is how we import and export functions. Yeah. Any other questions in the room? All good? Okay, so otherwise, I believe that's all for today's lecture, which is quite smooth. Yeah, so next week, you will start to see Hayden. So I'm not sure if you know Hayden. So Hayden has been teaching at CSE for many, many years. So he also has his own software startup. So he's a true software engineer. So I'm mainly from the academic background, like I had a PhD in software engineering, but Hayden will bring you the industry insight. So he has been working in industry for more than 10 years as a software developer and work in a software company. So he will bring you insights from the industry. Yeah, but you will still see me in some of the lectures in the future weeks. So this is not my last lecture. So I'm just introducing Hayden because Hayden, you will start to see Hayden from next Tuesday. Yeah, and also the project is also designed by Hayden. So I think it's very good to invite him to do some lectures so you can ask him about the questions on the project. So yeah, that's all for today, which is great. We finished super quick. You are so smart. If you have any questions, feel free to leave because I will stay here for another 20 minutes. Otherwise, that's all for today. Thank you.
We have a function that we have instances that are on the correct function. Can we just propose in the JS file export? So I need a module. I write a function myself that uses a module. I just use that in my so right there.
So just stop the. Sorry, I need to stop the live stream. Yes, I forgot that. And then